Hey guys, Legend here, and welcome to Tips and Tricks for competitive players to dominate every game. Now, if you're confused by what I mean by competitive tips, then you should check out my other video, 9 Tips and Tricks for Beginners, in the banner above, to see the basics of Halo gameplay, whereas in this video, we'll cover things that may be a little more useful to people who are more competitive when playing. But without further ado, let's start off with tip number 1, your HUD settings. To start off, let's make some alterations to a few of your HUD settings. The first setting alteration is your field of view. Changing your field of view in video settings to a max of 120 can help you see your surroundings much better than a lower field of view. In some ranges, it may be a little harder to aim with a higher field of view. However, I prefer to see more over dealing with a minor aim challenge. The second setting alteration is offsets. Setting your heavy weapon offsets to the max on your vertical and horizontal planes in the UI can make it easier to see when using weapons like the Spanker, which take up more screen space. The third setting alteration is your reticle. In the accessibility options, setting your reticle outline opacity and thickness to the max can make your reticle much easier to see and aim with, especially when lighting in some areas and on some maps make it less visible. Now let's move on to tip number 2, better aiming and sensitivity settings. Now at this point, if you want to be competitive, you've probably already figured out your personal aim sensitivity. However, if you haven't, that's perfectly understandable. If you're looking to improve your aim and sensitivity, using the weapon drills will be the best option for you. Practicing in weapon drills can allow you to get better at aiming with all the different weapons and help you maximize your settings and aim for your playstyle depending on the weapon. If you still need some help with the sensitivity settings, here's an example of the settings I personally play with when using controller that may or may not help you out. Now on to tip number 3, awareness. There's quite a lot to take in when it comes to awareness, but here are some things to keep in mind. First is playing while using a surround sound headset or earbuds. Using surround sound audio can allow you to hear the direction of shots, footsteps, and any other noises on the battlefield to be aware of what's going on around you. So instead of using your screen speakers, try using a headset or earbuds to get better directional audio next time you play. The second awareness tip is teammate damage indicators. If you didn't know already, there are indicators above your teammates by their gamer tag that show when they're taking damage or are killed. Seeing a full circle means they are fine. Seeing an exclamation point in the middle means they are being shot at. Seeing an empty circle with a smaller circle inside means their shields have broken. And seeing an X means they have died. So use this to your advantage to find out when to give your teammates help or when to avoid an area because enemies could be there. The third awareness tip is the death cam. After dying, looking and scrolling through your teammates' views can help you see where your enemies are and where to assist your teammates when you respawn. So use this to your advantage whenever you die. Alright, let's move on to tip number 4, being patient. When your shields are broken or if you're just spawning in, take cover and get to a safe area before jumping into battle. This way you can analyze the situation and make the best move possible before making the worst move possible. Most people make rookie mistakes by jumping instantly out into action with lower broken shields and end up getting teamed on or instantly killed, so be patient. I tend to focus on making smart kills instead of focusing on the quantity of kills first, which personally helps me survive much more often. Remember, the more patient you are, the less you'll die, and this can help a lot, especially in game modes like Slayer, because it prevents the enemy team from getting more kills and winning the game. Now on to tip number 5, team and solo strategies. When it comes to strategies, the most important thing to learn first is callouts. If you regularly join a fire team with some friends, making callouts is extremely important. Letting your teammates know through speaking on a mic can let your team know what's going on in the map and help your team strategize around the game mode. If you play with random people, turning on the fire team or lobby chat in the settings can help you do this. If you don't like talking to people, that's okay too. There's a ping button you can click which is up on the D-pad for controllers, which will allow you to ping enemies and other locations to let your team know where enemies and weapons are on the map. The second strategy is traveling in pairs. Traveling in pairs can maximize firepower and overpower any loners you come across. It's always better to move together than to move separately. The third strategy is taking advantage of duels. When you see your teammate having a duel with an enemy or even getting teamed by other players, jumping in to fight unexpectedly can surprise the enemy team when their shields are low and save your teammates from dying. The fourth strategy is ninjaing around corners. If you're ever in a bind and an enemy is chasing you around a corner, quickly jumping and moving backwards around the corner to melee the enemy in the back can give you an upper hand surprise against your enemy. The fifth strategy is the high ground. Having the high ground is important when it comes to gameplay. It can help you spot and target enemies much easier and give you the upper hand when using longer range weapons like the sniper. I also tend to stay in the back of maps on the high ground when using long range weapons like snipers because it gives a broader view of the map and more cover to stay safe from enemy contact. The sixth strategy is weapon mismatches. It's important to learn the pros and cons of each weapon so that you can properly identify a mismatch on the battlefield. For example, if you have a battle rifle and your enemy has a bulldog, you can create a mismatch if you keep your distance from your enemy because your weapon does better in long range than the bulldog, which will give you the upper hand. The same goes vice versa. If you have a bulldog and your enemy has a battle rifle, it's best to keep in cover until you're in close range, because the bulldog can do more damage than the battle rifle up close. And now for the final tip, number 6, game mode strategies. In quick play and ranked, it's important to know the different game mode strategies to maximize your team's effectiveness in each game mode. Some of these tips can apply to other game modes like Big Team Battle and Fiesta as well. So first off, let's talk about Oddball. In this mode, it's important to stay away from rushing in when the game first starts, as you'll probably get grenade spammed to death. The best option is to wait until the battlefield is clear and move in as a team to pick up the skull. Once your team has the skull, protecting the holder and getting him to a safe spot is top priority. If you're the holder in this situation, get to a safe area and stay around your teammates for protection. If your teammates die, you can drop the skull temporarily to kill the enemy and then pick it back up. If you don't have time to drop your weapon, you can always just melee them with the skull. And for the second game mode strategy, we have Strongholds. In this game mode, it's important to keep the lead for as long as possible. As long as you have 2 or 3 zones captured by your team, you'll outscore the enemy. The best way to do this is to focus on guarding at least 2 zones by having 2 players guard 1 zone and 2 guard the other to be the most effective. Getting to the abilities first at the beginning of the match may give you an upper hand in guarding and taking zones, but it's not absolutely necessary. If you need a tiebreaker and want to surprise the enemy near the end of the game, taking a zone you haven't taken before while the enemy rushes to one of your zones can give you an advantage while the enemy is trying to take a different zone. And in doing so, the only thing the enemy will accomplish in that moment is switching the location of their zone, giving you the majority score. And for the third and final strategy, we have Capture the Flag. When it comes to Capture the Flag, utilizing Overshield and Camo can give you a huge advantage. Getting to these ability spawns first are extremely important. This can allow you to make a push with your team and create a mismatch when making a flag run. It's usually best to leave at least 1 person behind to guard your flag and make a push with the other 3 to maximize effectiveness and protection when obtaining these abilities. And just like an oddball, protecting the carrier is top priority, as it helps you secure captures while the enemy is attacking. With all that in mind, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to see more content like this, drop a like and subscribe with notifications on by clicking the bell icon to keep updated on more tips and how-to videos. See you guys in the next one.